Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that the sun-soaked paradise everyone's been rushing into for the last 5 years is suddenly the most dangerous real estate bet on planet Earth, that Miami just got crowned the #1 housing bubble in the entire world 2 years running by the same Swiss bankers who called the 2008 crisis early, and that 2026 could be the year the whole South Florida dream implodes harder than anything we saw in the Great Recession. Smash that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why condo owners are getting slapped with six-figure surprise bills, why insurance companies are running for the exits, why brand new listings are rotting on the market for months with price cut after price cut, and why some of the sharpest analysts in the country are openly warning that when January 1st, 2026 hits, the forced reserve requirements kick in, and decades of neglected maintenance finally come due all at once, we could be staring at a full-blown crash that makes 2008 look tame. Drop a comment down below right now and tell me if you own anything in South Florida or if you're thinking about buying, because this one's going to hit a lot of people hard. Let's dive in. Ever since the pandemic turned Florida into America's favorite escape hatch, prices down here have gone absolutely vertical. We're talking 70, 80, even 90% gains in some neighborhoods since 2019 alone. But underneath all that glitter, something has been quietly breaking, and it started with one horrific night in 2021 when the Champlain Tower South in Surfside pancaked to the ground and took 98 lives with it. That tragedy forced Tallahassee to finally do something they'd been kicking down the road for decades. They passed tough new safety laws that say every condo taller than 3 stories or older than 30 years has to be fully inspected, and whatever the engineers find has to be fixed yesterday. Guess what those inspections are uncovering? Spalling concrete that's basically turning into sand, rusted rebar that looks like pretzels, balconies held up by hope and duct tape, electrical systems that should have been replaced during the Clinton administration. The list is endless, and the price tags are pure horror. Owners who thought they were sitting on a gold mine are now getting special assessment letters for $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 or more per unit. And these aren't optional charity drives. If you don't pay, the association puts a lien on your property and eventually forecloses. I've talked to retirees in Broward and Palm Beach who are literally choosing between groceries and keeping their home because their monthly carry costs just went from $2,000 to $5,000 overnight once you pile on the new HOA hikes, which, by the way, are running 30 to 50% in a single year for a lot of buildings, and the crushing special assessment payment plans. And here's the sick twist. Almost nobody can sell and escape because buyers are doing the math and realizing that even if they snag a unit 20% off asking price, the ongoing monthly bleed from insurance, taxes, HOA, and assessments makes the place completely unaffordable. So listings sit, inventory piles up, and we now have parts of Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach where 7, 8, 9 months of condo supply is just rotting on the market, the highest levels since the last crash. Speaking of insurance, buckle up, because this is the second landmine that's about to blow the legs off the market. The average Florida homeowner is already paying close to $11,000 a year for coverage, almost double the next most expensive state. And in coastal South Florida, a lot of policies are pushing $15,000, $20,000, even $25,000 annually. And that's if you can find a private carrier willing to write you at all. Companies like Farmers, Allstate, and a dozen others have either stopped writing new policies in the state or flat out pulled out because between hurricane risk, flooding, and a legal system that let trial lawyers run wild for years, they decided losing money every single year wasn't a sustainable business model. That has left Citizens Property Insurance, the state-run insurer of last resort, holding over 1 million policies and growing, which means taxpayers are now on the hook for the next big storm. When carrying costs explode like this, people who stretched to buy at the top suddenly can't make the numbers work anymore. They list the property, it doesn't sell, they get further underwater, and eventually a wave of strategic defaults and foreclosure starts rolling in, exactly the same death spiral we watched in 2006 and 2007. Inventory of single-family homes has already jumped over 40% year over year. Condos are up almost 90% in some counties. Cash sales in Miami-Dade are down double digits, and the river of people moving to Florida has slowed to a trickle. Net migration just collapsed from over 300,000 new residents in 2022 to barely 60,000 last year. Put all that together, and you get a market that's no longer climbing. It's teetering. But the real detonation is scheduled for 2026 because the new law says that starting January 1st, every single condo association in the state has to be fully funded for future repairs. No more kicking the can down the road with zero in reserves, which is how most of them have operated since the 1980s. Property managers I've spoken to say the typical building is looking at immediate 30 to 40% HOA increases just to start building the reserve. And that's before the actual repair assessments hit. One major management company told the press they have a single association staring at a $4 million shortfall that has to be collected in the first 12 months. When that wave of mandatory funding lands on top of everything else, the frozen market we have right now turns into a fire sale. Analysts at firms like Nora Project and Resi Club are already circling Gainesville, Lakeland, Winter Haven, the Space Coast, Tampa Bay, and obviously Greater Miami as the places most at risk for double-digit price drops. And a Senate Budget Committee report flat out warned that the triple threat of sky-high insurance, record home prices, and elevated mortgage rates could produce a Florida housing crash worse than 2008. Even Goldman and Wells Fargo, who are still calling for modest national price gains next year, admit that South Florida is its own beast and the statewide averages hide what's really happening on the ground here. Look, I'm not up here rooting for anyone to lose their home. A lot of the people getting crushed right now are snowbirds and retirees who did everything right, bought decades ago, paid off their mortgage, and now they're being told cough up 6 figures or get out. But the math is the math. And decades of deferred maintenance, insane insurance increases, and a migration boom that's already reversing have created a perfect storm. If you own a condo in South Florida, especially anything built before 1995 on the coast, you need to be talking to engineers, talking to your association, and seriously stress testing your finances for 2026 because the bill is coming due whether anyone's ready or not. If you're thinking of buying, maybe pump the brakes and watch from the sidelines for the next 12 to 18 months because the risk-reward equation just flipped. Guys, this could be the biggest real estate story of the decade unfolding right in front of us. So please hit that like button if you found this helpful, smash subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the updates as this situation develops because I'll be tracking inventory, pricing, foreclosure data, and insurance rates every single month. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you seeing this play out where you live? Have you gotten a crazy assessment letter? Are people in your building panicking? Let's get a real conversation going down there, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp out there.